you know what assumption of risk is? Well, if you are engaged in an inherently dangerous activity, you really need to know what the assumption of risk doctrine is and how it can affect you here in the state of New York. Come join me. I'll share with you exactly what it is. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury trial attorney practicing law here in the state of New York. Let's say you're involved in a dangerous activity. For example, let's say you're skiing. Let's say you're snowmobiling. Let's say you're rock climbing. And now you get injured during the course of that activity. And then you decide to turn around and sue the place where you got injured, claiming that they were negligent or careless. And as a result of that, you now suffered significant injury. Well, one of the things that you're going to notice is that the people that you are suing will turn around and say, they're going to claim you assume the risk. And as a result of engaging in an inherently dangerous activity, we're not going to be held responsible. You should be held responsible because you engaged in that dangerous activity and you knew about the risks going forward. Now, how can that impact you and how can that change the outcome of your potential case? Here's what happens. As your case proceeds through the litigation process, the defense lawyers will have an opportunity to ask you questions. That's known as a deposition, a question and answer session given under oath. They're going to ask you questions about whether you engaged in this type of dangerous activity before. They're going to want to know whether you ever hurt yourself before, whether you knew of anybody else who ever got hurt doing this type of activity before. They're going to want to know whether you were fully aware of the risks associated with this particular activity. Maybe it was diving off a cliff and now you suffered paralysis to your neck. Maybe it was something else where now you have a significant injury and can no longer work. But most importantly, they're going to try and find out what the risks were and whether you knew about them. Why is that? Because if you know about the risks and you voluntarily and willingly engage in that dangerous behavior, they're going to come back to the jury at trial and say, listen, don't hold us accountable. Everything we did was appropriate. This guy took the risk, he knew what the risks were, he went ahead and disregarded those dangerous risks, and now the fact that he got hurt, he's turning around and claiming we're responsible? How is that possible? And that's a very compelling argument when made to a jury. So we often see that type of defense claim come up in a situation where somebody has engaged in a dangerous activity where they know that there are significant risks associated with it. Now, when you go to some of these activities, you're going to notice on the permission slips that you have to sign, on the back of it, it usually has all the warnings and risks. I'm aware that I can get hurt, I'm aware I can get injured, and they go through it and list it. And if you do bring a lawsuit against them, they're going to come back and say, hey, Mr. Jones, let me ask you, before going ahead with this activity, weren't you aware that you could get injured? Weren't you aware that you could suffer a significant life-altering injury? And the answer probably is going to be yes, yes, yes. And if the reality is that you were aware of all the risks, you may, in fact, have assumed the risk of getting injured. And if that's the case, there's a good possibility that you may not be entitled or may not be awarded any compensation for your particular injuries. So, why do I bring this up and why do you need to know about this? Because chances are, if you were engaged in an activity that was inherently dangerous, you really need to speak to an attorney to find out whether or not that assumption of risk doctrine is going to seriously impair and affect your ability to bring a case here in the state of New York. If your matter happened here in the state of New York, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I answer legal questions like yours every single day. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at lawmed10@yahoo.com. I'm Gerry Oginski here in New York. Have a fantastic day.